Well, let's get back to the big story this morning, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We can speak now to Nigel Farage, MP, leader of Reform UK and a friend, of course, of Donald Trump. Good morning to you. What did you think when you heard the news, first of all?
Well, I was very upset, and I'm still upset. I'm obviously pleased that my friend Donald's got away with it. Only just, but he's got away with it. But one person is dead. Two more are fighting for their lives in hospital. So it's an absolutely horrendous incident. And yet, somehow, I'm not shocked by it. The narrative that is put out there about Trump by these liberals that oppose him is so nasty, is so unpleasant, that I think it almost encourages this type of behaviour.
Are you suggesting that the political environment is to blame for this?
Well, you can always pick out quotes. I mean, it was just a few weeks ago that Joe Biden said Trump must be put in the bullseye. And, you know, we talked earlier on this programme about social media, and that's quite right. There are some things that are said on social media that aren't acceptable. But there is also a mainstream media narrative. And I'm afraid it's very, very one-sided. The BBC is a part of this. It's happening in this country. I mean, I've faced continual attacks for over a decade now. Because it's me, no one cares. In fact, it's even funny, you know. I mean, one of the many times that I had a drink thrown at me, you know, a comedian, so-called comedian on a BBC show says, well, why not battery acid? I mean, I just find the fact that that individual, Joe Brand, is still on BBC programmes, I find that really pretty appalling. We've got Mr. Aronovich, who does programmes on Radio 4, who recently said that the best way for the Democrats to deal with Trump is to have him shot. Now he says now that was a joke. But so I do think mainstream media, I do think liberal intolerance is increasingly a part of this problem. And yet,
Mr. Farage, you're not suggesting surely that this is coming only from one side. If we concentrate on what's happened in America, do the Republicans also not have a responsibility in terms of creating a political environment? Many of Donald Trump's supporters have on many occasions used incredibly direct language here.
Oh, that's right. And look, there are extremists on both sides of the political divide. And if they're mere supporters, that's a very difficult thing for political parties, apart from condemning it, to deal with. What I'm saying is there is a narrative that has been built up for many, many years. And I see it myself. I mean, people hate me, not because of what I've said, not because of what I've done, but because of things that are broadcast about me on, you know, radio stations, TV channels, regulated by Ofcom or the BBC itself. And you know, I've lived with this for a very, very long time. I think all MPs from all sides now are increasingly at risk. But I do think, I'm sorry, but I do think mainstream media has a lot to do with this.
What impact do you think that this might have, though, on the presidential race in America?
Well, the problem is that, you know, Trump lives and breathes by big rallies, and I've been to maybe a dozen of them myself. You know, sometimes 10,000 people, sometimes 50,000 people. It's the energy that's generated from those events that spreads out through communities and gets him his vote. Now, security, Secret Service is always incredibly strict, but if someone's got a high-velocity rifle, I think in this case the guy was about 150 yards away. But I mean, you know, a rifle like that can be very effective and very accurate up to 1,000 yards. So it is difficult to see, you know, does Trump go on doing what he's always done? And I faced this in the general election. The second or third day of the campaign, I got to Barnsley. I was told by the police, do not get off the bus or you'll be hurt. And as it was, some cement was thrown at me and some stones were thrown at the bus. So you know, the problem with this is, how do you go out and campaign? Think of John Major 30 years ago, a soapbox in Market Squares. Couldn't do that today. So we finish up with our political leaders never meeting a voter, never meeting the public. I suspect, knowing Trump as I do, he will carry on regardless.
OK, Nigel Farage, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.